Today we're going to look at the lives and tragic deaths of Hollywood actresses whose personal struggles were hidden from the world, and how their stories continue to resonate with us today. Peggy Whistle. The tragic fall of a bright star. In 1932, Hollywood lost one of its brightest young stars when Peggy Whistle took her own life at just 24 years old. A talented Broadway actress, Peggy's career seemed to be on the rise. She had worked in several stage productions before making her way to Hollywood, where she quickly captured the attention of the industry. But what the public didn't know was how quickly fame and the intense pressure to succeed took a toll on her emotional well-being. In a heartbreaking turn, Peggy Whistle jumped from the iconic Hollywood sign, forever cementing her place in the history of tragic Hollywood stories. At the time, many speculated that her death was a result of a personal crisis, struggling with her role in the industry, which was still very much in its infancy. Hollywood was ruthless, and for young women like Peggy, there was always the pressure to look perfect, be perfect, and never show vulnerability. Her death was shocking, but it became a grim reminder of the mental health struggles that would continue to plague Hollywood for decades. Peggy Whistle's tragic end was a wake-up call to many, showing that fame could be a dangerous force, capable of swallowing whole even the brightest of stars. Lillian Hall Davis, silent film star, left in silence. Lillian Hall Davis was a star of the silent film era, known for her beauty and elegance on screen. Like many silent film actresses, she had built a loyal fan base who adored her performances. But when the talkies arrived, Lillian found herself struggling to keep up. The transition from silent films to sound films was a defining moment in Hollywood history, and it was an era that left many talented actresses behind. Lillian, who had a distinctive, graceful style on screen, struggled with the shift. Audiences no longer knew how to accept the once quiet stars who had mastered the art of silent acting, but couldn't adapt to the new demands of sound cinema. By 1933, Lillian was in a state of deep emotional turmoil. At 35 years old, overwhelmed by the industry's rapid changes and perhaps battling her own personal issues, she tragically took her own life. Her death highlighted the relentless nature of Hollywood's evolving landscape and how it could leave talented women in its wake. Lillian's story is one of the many untold tragedies of silent film actresses who struggled to transition into the next era of filmmaking. Florence Lawrence, the first movie star's tragic end. Florence Lawrence holds the distinction of being one of the first movie stars. She helped lay the foundation for Hollywood stardom, bringing personality and character to the silver screen. Florence was an innovator in a time when movie stars were still an unfamiliar concept. She was a pioneer who, in many ways, became the face of early cinema. But despite her groundbreaking contributions, Florence's life off-screen was far from the fairy tale her fans imagined. By the late 1930s, Florence faced severe financial difficulties and declining health. Despite her immense popularity and early success, she found herself in a desperate and hopeless state. Her career had faltered, and her personal life had taken a dramatic turn. In 1938, just 39 years old, Florence Lawrence ended her life, leaving behind a legacy that, unfortunately, was overshadowed by her struggles. Florence's story serves as a stark reminder that even those who helped create Hollywood's glamour were not immune to the pressures of fame, and mental health issues were often ignored or misunderstood in a time when mental well-being was rarely discussed. Lupe Velez, the Mexican Spitfire's untold struggles. Lupe Velez, often dubbed the Mexican Spitfire, was a vivacious and spirited actress who made a name for herself in Hollywood in the 1930s and 40s. Known for her fiery personality and striking beauty, Lupe became one of the most famous Latin actresses of her time. She broke barriers for Latinx performers and was beloved for her passionate performances on screen. But behind the scenes, Lupe was struggling with her personal life, battling depression, emotional turmoil, and the intense pressures of being a successful Latina actress in a racially segregated Hollywood. Lupe's life was far from the glamorous image she projected. In 1944, just 36 years old, Lupe Velez's tragic death shocked the public. Her passing was attributed to a combination of personal struggles, mental health issues, and the overwhelming pressures of maintaining her Hollywood persona. Despite her success, Lupe's life was filled with turmoil, and her untimely death left Hollywood mourning the loss of one of its most charismatic stars. Carol Landis, the girl next door's dark secret. Carol Landis was adored by audiences in the 1940s for her charming smile, vibrant personality, and girl next door image. She was known for her roles in films like 1,000,000 BC and The Ghost Goes West, where she played the kind-hearted and beautiful leading lady. On the surface, Carol had it all: fame, beauty, and a successful career. But behind her public persona, Carol was deeply troubled. Struggling with a broken heart after a tumultuous affair and battling depression, she found herself sinking deeper into isolation. Despite being loved by fans, Carol's personal pain remained hidden from the public eye. In 1948, at just 29, Carol Landis tragically took her own life. Her death was a devastating reminder of how easily even the most beloved stars can fall victim to inner demons. Carol's life and death serves as a tragic testament to the idea that fame and success do not guarantee happiness, and mental health struggles should never be underestimated. Faith Bacon, the burlesque dancer's final curtain. Faith Bacon was a famous burlesque dancer in the 1940s and 50s, known for her seductive performances and daring routines. She was a star in a different realm of entertainment, one that was often overlooked by mainstream Hollywood. Despite her success, Faith faced a series of personal and financial struggles that she could not overcome. Her career, once thriving, was marred by financial troubles, and her personal life was filled with heartbreak. In 1956, at the age of 46, Faith tragically ended her life. Her death was a reminder of how the pressures of fame can affect performers across all genres, not just those in front of the camera. Faith's passing also underscored the fact that even those who lived their lives in the spotlight of a different kind of performance were not immune to the emotional toll that comes with living in the public eye. Sue Hamilton, the lost starlet. Sue Hamilton was a young, promising starlet whose career was just beginning to take off in the 1960s. Her looks and talent were undeniable, and it seemed like she had a bright future ahead of her. But like many young stars, Sue struggled with the pressures of fame, and she found herself falling victim to substance abuse and emotional pain. By 1969, Sue was just 23 years old when she tragically took her own life. Her death was a painful reminder of how the entertainment industry, especially for young women, can be a dangerous place. Sue's story also reflects the destructive power of addiction and how quickly the pressures of the industry can unravel a young star's life. Libby Holman, Broadway's tragic diva. Libby Holman was one of the most celebrated Broadway performers of the 1930s and 40s, known for her powerful voice and emotional depth. She captivated audiences with her music, but her personal life was filled with loss and tragedy. Libby endured a series of heartbreaks, including the death of her husband, which deeply affected her. As her personal struggles worsened, Libby's emotional health began to decline, and she found it increasingly difficult to keep up appearances. In 1971, Libby took her own life at the age of 67. Her passing was the end of a remarkable career, one marked by both brilliance and pain. Libby's story is a reminder that no amount of success or fame can protect someone from personal tragedy, and that even the most accomplished artists are vulnerable to the weight of their own emotional burdens. Jeanne Seberg, The Cost of Activism and Fame. Jeanne Seberg was an actress known for her work in the French New Wave cinema and her commitment to political activism. She made her mark as an iconic figure in Breathless, one of the most influential films of the 1960s. Jeanne was also a passionate activist, fighting for civil rights and racial equality during a time of intense political turmoil. However, Jeanne's activism in public life came at a personal cost. She was relentlessly targeted by the FBI due to her involvement in the civil rights movement, and the pressure of being both a Hollywood icon and a political figure became unbearable. In 1979, at 40, Jeanne Seberg tragically took her own life. Her death highlighted the extreme toll that both fame and activism can have on a person's mental and emotional health. Jeanne's story reminds us that the price of fame, combined with the burden of standing up for justice, can be incredibly heavy, especially when the world turns against you. These women, whose lives were marked by both brilliance and tragedy, remind us that, Hollywood's glamour often hides deep, unseen struggles. Behind every smile on the red carpet, there could be someone fighting battles that no one else can see. The mental health challenges faced by these actresses were real, and their stories are a powerful reminder of the importance of compassion and understanding, not just for the stars of today, but for anyone dealing with mental health issues. Their legacies are not just about the films they made, but about the lives they lived and the lessons we can learn from their tragic ends. Fame may seem like the ultimate prize, but for some, it became an unbearable weight. Let's remember these women for more than just their struggles. They were pioneers, artists, and courageous souls who left their mark on Hollywood. Even as they faced unimaginable hardships, their stories will never be forgotten.